right, Impressions Expo is coming up so soon, and for those of you who are getting ready to plan your conference schedule, we have some sessions that you're not going to miss. Today, I am joined with Sandy Higgins with Crackerjack Shack, and she's got a couple of great sessions at Impressions Expo that we're going to talk about. So, Sandy, thank you so much for joining me today. Are you excited to get out to Fort Worth?
I am really excited about it. I love the expo itself, but being able to teach these classes has really been wonderful.
That's awesome. Well, we are certainly glad to have you back. This year for Fort Worth, the show is 25% bigger. There's a ton of new sessions, new speakers, and returning speakers like yourself. I know one of these sessions you did in Atlantic City, and it went over very well. So this time we've got you on the calendar for two of your sessions, and both of them are part of the Hack the Stats series. Mm-hmm. So what can you tell us about your two sessions, and who would be some good attendees to come and check that out?
Well, thank you. The name Hack the Stats came from an idea that a lot of businesses fail in their first 1 to 3 years. And so we want to teach a method for organizing your finances, pricing what you sell, organizing your systems that you have in place, all of that, how to be a really good owner and to have really solid finances that produce a profit. And I like teaching that in a very fun, applicable way where you can leave the session and literally go back home and start immediately doing. It's not a lot of theory, it's very practical advice.
That's great, because practical advice is really what attendees are looking for when they come to a trade show, because you're taking all this time away from work, you got your team, you got your family, and so that's going to be very good to take home. What about the second session too? Dive into that a little bit more.
Well, I was fortunate enough to have a very good mentor when I first started the business. He had been an offset printer in California, and he took me on through the SBA. I applied to the SBA for a mentor, and it worked out great. But one of the things he would always tell me is you need to work on your business instead of in it. And I have to admit, at that time, I was doing all the embroidering. I was outsourcing all of our screen printing. I was writing up every order. I was working on art myself. It was a challenge because I thought, who's going to do this if I don't do it myself, in those early years? And through his teaching and working with me, he really taught me how to take myself out of the technician's chair and really be a good, solid entrepreneur. It's a process, but it's fun, and it helps you gain perspective as to your role in the business if you want that business to grow and be sellable someday. So, and also be enjoyable while you're in the business and not completely overwhelmed. So I'm basically relaying what I learned and paying it forward, so to speak, in what my mentor taught to me. And it's a very viable, workable solution to setting up your business.
That's going to be so valuable. I know so many of the attendees that are coming to Impressions Expo are wearing so many hats, like you said. So that story, you certainly hear it over and over. So that's going to be great for beginners and people who have already been in the business for a little while. I believe both of your sessions are on Thursday, so people will be able to visit the expo floor, also come and check out some of the learning opportunities. What would you say, Sandy, as you're thinking as a business owner and also a teacher too, what are some of the challenges and opportunities that are ahead for the next year that you're really hearing from friends and those in the business that everybody's preparing for?
Well, I think one of the big challenges is tackling social media. I've mentioned this, I'm on the advisory board, and I've mentioned that topic because social media really drives our news, our content, our entertainment, about everything we do. And business has a place there. And figuring out what that place is and how to monetize it and really be a part of that game is critically important, and will become more and more important as short form video really takes over most of the platforms. So getting comfortable behind the camera and being yourself, showing what you do and engaging with your audience, I think it's critically important to help your business grow.
For sure. And you're definitely practicing what you preach there, because you're here with me today. So thank you so much for that. Well, Sandy, I know that you have got a busy day probably ahead of you and getting ready to head out to Fort Worth, so I'm going to let you get back to it. And I just want to take this opportunity to remind everybody you can still sign up for the Impressions Expo in Fort Worth, September 14th through the 16th. Just visit impressionsexpo.com. Sandy, thanks again for joining me, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in Fort Worth.